Our next session, we're going to hear from Verrency and Eftpos on a case study about their partnership. Our first speaker for this case study is Jeroen van Son, Chief Commercial Officer of Verrency, a platform that enables financial institutions to speed up innovations that power customer acquisition and engagement. Joining Jeroen, we have Ben Tabell, who leads the 24/7 Payments Technology and Operations Division for Eftpos. This session will follow the journey of Eftpos partnering with Verrency to create and deliver a card linking API for loyalty providers with streamlined integration to easily reward customers for shopping with Eftpos. Welcome to both of you.
Thank you. Actually, I'm going to go first. I'm Ben. This is Jeroen. I'm just going to talk you a little bit through the history of Eftpos, not a long story, and really just get you started on how we got around to partnering with Fintech and where that began. So really, we had a strategy a few years ago that, for sustainability more than anything else of the Eftpos scheme, we needed to start to innovate around the edges of what we were currently doing in a card payment, card present in many cases, payment world. Our strategy is very much underpinned on partnerships, and that's something we've been working at for a very long time. We certainly saw the opportunity with Verrency early on and been working through different models in the early stages, but eventually landed on the solution you'll hear about a bit later on today when Jeroen talks through the details. We had to build APIs. That's the first thing. You have to enable your infrastructure to support the environment that you wish to bring to market, and that was a big part of the beginning. And really about how we partner overall was part of our strategy. So I'll step on. Our roadmap was announced more recently, so just in the beginning of 2021 we did an update, but that was built off our digital and technology strategy, which has these key elements that you can see on screen right now. So that's very much expanding into mobile wallets and expanding mobile wallet capability, expanding our e-commerce and card not present enablement. Digital identity is something that's relatively new, and I'll talk a bit about that in a moment. And APIs generally and fintech access have been a theme for a number of years in our journey, and how we enable beyond the traditional 19 members that we had as our member-based organisation. And more recently, you will have heard, hopefully in the media, about our QR acceptance and experiences platform and how we want to enable QR into the Australian environment to enable payments and beyond. And there's a short video, if it all goes to plan, that'll give you a bit of context around that. This really talks to the value that's sitting in payment volumes in this country. And Australia does love debit, and we are the Australian debit scheme. So it's important to understand how much innovation can happen around the volume that we see and the other debit schemes see in the environment, and how we can really leverage that. You can see the scenarios off to the right. We saw lots of opportunities, but we see plenty still. So buy now, pay later, certainly mobile payments, QR, digital identity, etc. There's just so much opportunity around a traditional value exchange or payment. And we wanted to leverage that as much as possible. And in this relationship, that was the beginning of hopefully a long journey for us. This talks about our history. You consider what you know about Eftpos today. We're a very traditional card present capability sitting at point of sale, and we had enablement with some tokenization, so we could actually bring a card to a wallet, a digital wallet. But really, our digital roadmap takes us far deeper into the ecosystem and opens up far more opportunities for us. So, in this slide on the screen at the moment, you'll see the right-hand side for you. We'll give you a bit more context around the things we're working on. E-commerce is pretty critical for us, and that includes a message type that's only recently been enabled by our members, and that's deposit and withdrawal. So that's a different type of transaction that we haven't seen before. To do a deposit or withdrawal from an account is a really important enablement for payments and the move money transaction in the future. We've got this QR orchestration platform I mentioned. Again, there's a video, I won't steal the thunder, assuming it works. And we have our token hub, again, enabling our wallets and tokenization more broadly, right at merchant requester, token requester, and those kind of capabilities. You will have seen, I assume, our purchase of Beemit in the recent past. Beemit's definitely a synergistic relationship. Eftpos and Beemit are a great pair, but we see ourselves as wallet agnostic and certainly wanting to enable digital wallets across the market. Mobile, you can see at the bottom. Connect ID is our new brand that we're bringing to market right now, and I'm happy to announce right here and right now. Simultaneously, there's an announcement happening in another conference, but that Connect ID will go into production trial with a proof of age transaction for liquor sales with the Retail Liquor Association. So we are bringing to bear an end-to-end journey, utilising the Eftpos driven Connect ID broker solution right in the middle of that. And it's a pretty important opportunity for, I guess, the Australian economy as much as anything, because you will have heard the government talking a lot about identity, but just generally speaking, digital identity enables a whole lot more than payments, and we see it as a really great opportunity to lay down the rails for the future of digital identity in this country, particularly in the short to medium term. Our API gateway exists, and of course, you may be aware, we've actually joined the Hedera Hashgraph Governing Council, and that's for us really stepping into the latest technologies that will enable the likes of value exchange in the future. Blockchain in this case, but clearly their consensus service is something we're very interested in and try to understand how it can enable all sorts of use cases for payments in the future beyond card-related payments. Our roadmap looks something like this at present. And really, it's quite a busy slide, but it cuts across our deliverables. So right through wallets, e-commerce, digital identity, APIs, QR codes. That's really our focus, enabling and becoming centric in the digital ecosystem of this country. And that's something we see as being core to our vision of being good for Australia. So with that, I might try and kick into a video before Jeroen talks a little bit about the technical partnership and how that was enabled. Could I have the video?
This is Ollie. He lives in a fast-paced digital world, but faces inconsistent customer experiences with the plastic card system that struggles to evolve and innovate beyond just payments. He either has to tap, enter a PIN, swipe, log in, remember password, re-enter password, register user, sync with mobile. And that's just to pay. There has to be a better way. Now meet Ollie, your customer tomorrow. Using his preferred Eftpos-enabled wallet with QR codes, he can now unlock simple payments and so much more. This game-changing system offers greater security, faster payments, and richer customer experiences, while also lowering merchant costs. It sends him offers to help fuel his day and lets him fuel up faster. It's a way to pay for his public transport and view a trip tracker in one. It can deliver deals close by while he waits, and even logs his latte loyalty. It lets him pay for the things he wants the way he wants to, and automatically stores all the stuff he can never find when he needs it, like receipts and warranties. It makes paying paper invoices child's play. It lets him shop online, even with gift cards, without the song and dance. And sees digital bills settled with the flick of a wrist. It even remembers the family loves arrabbiata fusilli. Oh, and that they always order extra chili. Yes, Ollie's Eftpos-enabled wallet will offer so much more than just payments, making life easier, safer, and more rewarding. And if it can do all that for Ollie, imagine what it can do for you. Eftpos, doing good for you and good for Australia.
Don't know if I can compete with that, so I'll hand over to you, Jeroen.
Thank you, Ben. Let me get back to my first slide. I'm Jeroen. I'm with Verrency, and at Verrency we've been incredibly fortunate to have been partnering with Eftpos for, it's coming up to 2 years now, I think. And I guess the reason why Eftpos chose to select Verrency as their partner is that we are designed to solve some pretty big problems in the global payments landscape. And that all sort of triggers and stems from the fact that customer expectations are changing, and they're changing rapidly. And in many cases, those expectations are driven by big tech. The personalization services that we see delivered from, Spotify, Netflix, and others. They set a new level of expectation, and consumers expect that same level of service to come from their financial services providers. We also know that in payments and in financial services, the core systems that drive the transactions, they are not designed to innovate at pace and at scale. They're designed to be mission-critically robust systems with very high availability and capacity performances. So there you have a little bit of a conundrum for established financial services players. That is only exacerbated by the fact that, if you wanted to do away with your existing core systems and migrate to more modern technology stacks, that might sound appealing on the surface, but when you dive a little bit deeper, that is sort of the closest thing to open heart surgery, which is incredibly time-consuming, very costly, and riddled with a lot of risk. So against those backdrops, Verrency was established. And Verrency really only exists to solve two major problems in financial services globally. Problem statement number one is that it's incredibly difficult for established financial institutions, whether they be card issuing banks or payments processors or payment schemes. It's incredibly difficult to innovate, and oftentimes that points back to core systems. Sometimes it goes back to risk remediation and internal cultures. The net output of that is that it's hard, it's time consuming and very expensive for established financial institutions to innovate. And Verrency helps with that, and I'll explain a little bit how we do that. The other problem statement that Verrency revolves around is that it's very difficult for many fintechs to find scale via distribution partnerships. If you look at that problem statement through the lens of, let's say, a bank or a scheme, I don't think there's any shortage of desire or willingness from those players to partner with fintechs. But if you had to integrate 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 different fintechs into your operating environment, that would be 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 pretty major projects. And the analogy I often use is that you open the hood of the car only to find out that there's plenty of problems and interfaces you have to test and work with. And again, the net output is that is complex and very time consuming. So Verrency was designed around those two core problem statements. Now the way it works at a nutshell is that Verrency is a software as a service platform. It lives on the Amazon Web Services cloud. It integrates with a payment, typically with a payment switch, and it absorbs a live payment transaction. Now that can be a credit transaction, a debit transaction, or any other transaction, it doesn't matter. And at its core, the Verrency platform is a very, very low latency rules engine. So we can take a payments message in and we can create that into a myriad of different use cases. That could be about a buy now, pay later transaction. It can be a pay with loyalty points in real-time transaction. It could be a roundup of a transaction to the nearest dollar. It could be many, many different things. But at the core of the Verrency promise is that we take value-added services and innovation away from core systems with their compliance-driven release schedules, and we create an environment whereby our clients can innovate around the mode of payment in near real time. So that's why Verrency was designed and built about 4.5 years ago now. We do this globally. We're a small company, Australian headquartered small company. We got a small presence in the United States, in Europe, in Asia Pacific, the Middle East, and our development team is right here in Melbourne. Now, specifically for Eftpos, we perform 4 functions. And those functions all revolve around card-linked offers, whereby Eftpos cardholders can avail themselves of merchant discounts, merchant-funded discounts, at the moment that they transact on their Eftpos cards. The 4 functions that we perform for Eftpos are, number 1 is the transaction publishing function. So we are integrated, our platform is integrated into the Eftpos switch environment, which means that we get live transaction feeds into our environment. Once we get a qualifying transaction feed into our environment, we do the second function, which is the transaction matching. And transaction matching is where we match an Eftpos card transaction with a loyalty member ID and a participating merchant offer. And once our platform has established that there is a match, we publish that transaction out to the loyalty provider for them to then credit the cardholder with the credit. Oh my God, that's. Did you hear me all? The third function comes back to one of the big 2 problems I articulated earlier, and that's integration services. So again, for an Eftpos or any other established financial services player, it would require a fair amount of effort, time and cost to integrate multiple partners into their operating environment. Our platform is an API-driven platform whereby merchant offer aggregators can easily integrate into our backend in order for them to make their services available to Eftpos and Eftpos cardholders. And that process is literally a process of days or weeks. It's very, very simple. It's all API-driven. The lead time for a project is it's very, very short. And by the time the engineers get their hands on the keyboards, it's oftentimes done in a matter of single-digit days. And then brings me to the last function that we perform for Eftpos, and that's the commercial management. So Eftpos has hired us to scout who in the market performs these loyalty services. And again, these are all merchant offer aggregators that are out there that have relationships with merchants and often have loyalty relationships with members. So we find those companies, we then present them back to Eftpos for Eftpos's approval, and then we enter into a commercial relationship with those third parties, and then we integrate them into our back end. So that all sort of translates into the diagram on the right hand of your screen, where you see a number of Australian brands already represented at the bottom end. And those are loyalty partners that we have integrated with or in the process of integrating with. And if you look on the right hand side of the diagram there, you'll find that Verrency has integrated with Eftpos. And that's an activity that we have done once. It only needs to happen once. And that's a fair bit of heavy lifting, but we've got that behind us. Now that Verrency is integrated with Eftpos, we can perform a multitude of value-added transaction services. And the one that we're bringing to market right now is around card-linked offers. So the 4 brands you see at the bottom are the first 4. We expect to see many, many more of these brands come on board very soon. And this all serves to benefit the Eftpos cardholder and provides them with value-added services around their critical moment of payment. So thank you very much.
I think that's it. So I guess it's open to questions or any interest in understanding more about what's happened between us and our partnership.
Do we have any audience questions? We've got a few minutes, so.
Well, we have a commercial relationship with Verrency, and Verrency has the commercial relationship with the rewards or loyalty partners out there. So that's how it works between us. Look, there's a number of benefits for us. Clearly, we're a partner-focused organisation. Loyalty not existing on Eftpos rails has always been a challenge, so we have to be enabling common market capability. There was definitely some risk in part of that being missed if Eftpos weren't there, and of course the Verrency relationship's been enabling that now for, as Jeroen said, at least the last 6 months, and certainly, or actually 7. And before that, we'd been working together on bringing it to happen. So that's the main benefit, really, just so that we're meeting parity minimum or exceeding expectations for Eftpos capabilities in the market.
Hi, Ben, that was great. I was just interested in the Eftpos-enabled wallet that was mentioned in the video, and knowing that the QR code capability will be presumably at point of sale, it will be on static mediums, it'll potentially be on invoices and so on. The Eftpos-enabled wallet, will that include scheme card capability as well as, Eftpos-enabled debit? Will it be a wallet that includes a whole lot of capability?
Yeah, yes, absolutely, absolutely. What we're intending to build and have been piloting is just the orchestration engine. We're effectively building the rails to enable the journey of the beginning of that journey starting life as a QR in lots of different scenarios. So yes, we'd like to be as agnostic as possible with that, but clearly deliver all of the capability a scheme can around compliance and control of the data set that you might want to exchange around a QR. So quick response code can enable lots of things. I think we've just seen it be a consumer behaviour that's become more and more relevant during COVID, and clearly it's an opportunity to take that into something that takes our rails well beyond just a card payment alone. It does enable things like loyalty very easily, but it does other things beyond that.
Do we have any more questions? Was there one at the back at all? Otherwise, I think we can leave it there. Great. Thank
you,
you
everyone.
so much.
Thank you very much.